Hey guys, Yankee here, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on The 100 Girlfriends Who Really, Really Love You, episodes 3 and 4. Last episode left off on a cliffhanger where Rentaro had bumped into another one of his soulmates, and so episode 3 is all about him, interacting with her, getting to know her, and eventually the love confession and getting her to be a member of his harem. So the girl in this episode's name is Shizuka. She is a quiet girl who loves to read. She does not speak. She only communicates with the book she always carries around and pointing to passages in it. And she's, used it for so long and read it so many times that she can quickly go to whatever page she needs to find a passage that, can convey her thoughts and what she wants to say. And so Rentaro asks her to help him find books because she works in the library, right? She's a student in like the library club or some sort of after school activity to work in the library. And she recommends a bunch of romance stuff at his request because Rentaro, he loves love, right? And he's like very romantic and really cares about stuff like that to like a comical extent. So he asks for romance books, goes to check out the ones that Shizuka had recommended, but he doesn't have a library card, and it's going to take a week for us to get you one. So Shizuka gives him the book that she always carries around to communicate, and he reads it in one night, and he loves it. And then they meet up again, she gives him the sequel, and he asks to keep the first one for a little bit. So we get some flashbacks here and there about her past, where, again, she has trouble communicating, and we see some other students sort of bullying her about this, and then presumably her mother yelling at her about not speaking. And then the big thing at the end that Rentaro does for her is he took the book, which does not have a digital copy at all, and basically transcribed it into an ebook, put it on an app for her so she can now use her phone to highlight the text in the thing, and it speaks for her. I forget exactly what he said, but there was a moment when they were sitting on the bench and he was giving her the app or whatever, and he's like, because you're always looking at your book trying to find the right passage, you never really look at people when you're communicating, so here, you can just do this really quick and we can, look at each other. Overall, it was a nice episode. Shizuka's nice. Because last episode I was talking about pacing and how it seemed like they were just adapting a chapter per episode, I grabbed my volume 1 just to look, and this is also a single chapter that they adapted, but this one didn't have as much stuff, so they really built on it by adding animations of this book that Shizuka had lent to Rentaro, and it's like a fantasy romance thing where like a princess and a knight, and the end of the first volume that Rentaro read was a cliffhanger where she was being shipped off to be married to some noble guy, and like all of that, I'm sort of two minds of it. It didn't detract from the episode. There was one point when Rentaro was actually reading the book where I felt like it had, it was kind of going on a bit long. But later in the episode, when they sort of bring that back and how they used Rentaro and Shizuka to sort of be the knight and the princess in that story, I thought was pretty good, and it added a decent amount. But it doesn't feel like it's like comparing this to the manga chapter, which didn't have any of that, and it was just Rentaro read the book, there was a few passages about what it was about, and they moved on. I don't think like one is particularly better. I think the additions that were made in episode 3 were fine, and when they were doing like the visual stuff of showing Rentaro as the knight and Shizuka as the princess was cool, but I don't think there's like a better one either way. But yeah, that's episode 3. Episode 4 is our integrating Shizuka into the rest of the group episode, where Rentaro brings her to Hakari and Karane and says, hey, I'm sorry, I have another girlfriend. Is this okay? And they agree, and we just get to play a game. They were just, what was it? Old Maid is what it's called, right? The card game. You see it in every anime, where whoever has the Joker at the end loses. And there was a punishment, so whoever loses gets tickled by whoever won. And so the first chunk of this episode was all the girls losing so they can get tickled, and then all the girls trying to win to tickle Rentaro, and then Shizuka wins and doesn't really tickle him like people expected. She just sort of pokes him a bit. And then Rentaro leaves, and leaves the girls to sort of talk amongst themselves, where they kind of have, like, kind of an argument. It's just Kurane speaking, so she's just always yelling. But it's basically being, like, telling readers and viewers in this case, like, what the dynamic of the harem is going to be. Like, Kurane and Hakari were first, but right in this, it's Kurane calling out Shizuka, being like, alright, you're here now, you're our equal, you don't have to hold back because of us. And I think it sets a good precedent for the series going forward. Like, it's a comedy, we're not going to get, like, heavy drama. Well, we get some later on. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but like, we're not going to get interpersonal conflict between the girls. Like, it's silly and light, and they're all equal. There's not one girl vying for the top spot or anything like that. They're all sort of in this together. And I think that was nice to get out of the way early. A lot of these early chapters are, like, especially these two Shizuka ones, where it's kind of setting up how, like, subsequent girls are going to get introduced and how it's going to work, where it's like, alright, girl gets introduced, Rentaro has to basically win them over, and then we're going to integrate them into the group and see how the girls interact with them after that. So I think these two episodes were pretty good. Episode 4 has finally gone to adapting two manga chapters per episode. So I think the next couple episodes are also 2 chapters per episode. So we're finally there. Pacing in these episodes was fine. Again, episode 3 was, I felt the animations about, like, the storybook kind of dragged on a bit in a certain place, like towards the first half of the episode, but it wasn't too bad. Shizuka's great. She's a lot of fun, and just sort of seeing the dynamic of the whole group, right? It's not just the main character and the girls, but, like, how the girls interact with each other and the things that they're doing is very fun. So these were just a couple of really fun episodes. This is just a fun series overall, and I'm excited to see where we go. Last video, I talked about Shizuka, and I mentioned, how she communicates differently, and I was wondering how they would do that, and I'm still not quite sure how they're doing it, but they just have her voice actress reading out the lines from the book, which makes sense, but I'm wondering if, because there's parts where she repeats herself, and I'm wondering if they have her voice actress read that multiple times, or if they just read it once and they're replaying it as if it was, text-to-speech. So I don't know about that, but yeah, that's something I just wanted to bring up because I had mentioned it last video. Overall, I think these episodes were really good. I think Shizuka's fun, and I think the group dynamics are good, and it's just a fun show. So yeah, those are my thoughts on episodes 3 and 4. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.